The map of our world is about to change. I'm talking about the continent of Africa splitting into two.
Africa is splitting into two continents, and satellites are watching it happen in real time. The ground is moving apart at 7 millimeters per year, earthquakes are tearing through villages, and a 50-foot crack appeared in Kenya that swallowed part of a highway.
Nairobi Mai Mahiu highway has been temporarily closed after a section of the road developed huge visible cracks.
Scientists say a new ocean will form between the pieces. But here's the part nobody tells you. It will take 5 to 10 million years. So what's really happening right now? And why does it matter if the split won't be complete for millions of years? The confusion started in March 2018 when a massive crack opened up near Mai Mahiu in Kenya. It was 50 feet deep in some places, wide enough to swallow a car, and it tore through farmland and a section of highway. Videos went viral. Headlines screamed that Africa was breaking apart.
Is Africa slowly breaking apart?
The map of our world is about to change. I'm talking about the continent of Africa splitting into two.
For a few days, the world believed they were witnessing a continent splitting in two right before their eyes. But when geologists arrived to study the crack, they found something different. The crack wasn't new. It was an old fault line that had been there for thousands of years, hidden under layers of volcanic soil. Heavy rains washed the soil away and exposed it. What people saw wasn't the earth tearing itself apart overnight. It was erosion revealing a fracture that was already there. But here's the twist. Even though that specific crack wasn't evidence of Africa splitting, the underlying story is true. Africa is splitting. It's just happening so slowly that you'd never notice it in your lifetime or the lifetimes of 1,000 generations after you. The continent sits on massive slabs of rock called tectonic plates, and two of those plates are pulling away from each other right now. Scientists can measure it with satellites and GPS sensors placed across East Africa. The movement is real. The split is happening. It's just not dramatic. To understand what's going on, you need to know how the Earth works beneath your feet. The planet's outer shell, called the lithosphere, is broken into massive pieces called tectonic plates. These plates aren't sitting still. They float on a hotter, semi-liquid layer below, called the asthenosphere. Deep inside the Earth, currents of heat push these plates around. Sometimes they crash into each other and form mountains. Sometimes they slide past one another and cause earthquakes. And sometimes they pull apart, which is called a divergent boundary. That's exactly what's happening in East Africa. The African continent used to sit on one big plate, but that plate is now splitting into two smaller ones. The larger one is called the Nubian plate, and it carries most of the continent including West Africa, Central Africa, and Southern Africa. The smaller one is the Somali plate, and it carries the Horn of Africa including Somalia, parts of Kenya, Ethiopia, and Tanzania. These two plates are slowly drifting away from each other along a fracture zone that stretches over 3,000 kilometers. Scientists call it the East African Rift System. The rift isn't a single crack. It's a network of valleys, faults, and fractures that snake through multiple countries. It has two main branches. The eastern branch runs through Ethiopia, Kenya, and Tanzania, and is geologically active with lots of volcanoes and earthquakes. The western branch curves through Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, and is home to many of Africa's Great Lakes. Together, these branches form one of the most dramatic geological features on the planet. Scientists measure the movement of these plates using GPS sensors placed across the rift zone and satellite-based radar that can detect shifts in the ground down to the millimeter. The data shows that the Nubian and Somali plates are moving apart at a rate of about 6 to 7 millimeters per year. To put that in perspective, your fingernails grow faster than that. If you placed a piece of paper between 2 points on opposite sides of the rift, it would take about 20 years for the gap to widen by the thickness of that single sheet. This is not a sudden event. It's a process so slow that entire human civilizations could rise and fall without noticing it. But the rift didn't start yesterday. It's been forming for about 25 million years, starting in the north near the Afar region in Ethiopia, and gradually working its way south. Over that time, the plates have been slowly peeling apart, creating the chain of lakes and volcanoes that mark the Great Rift Valley. The movement is slow, but it's been happening for so long that the landscape has already changed dramatically. The Rift Valley itself is evidence of millions of years of gradual splitting. So if the movement is that slow, why did the 2018 crack in Kenya go viral? Because it looked dramatic, it was sudden, it was visible, and it fit the narrative that Africa was splitting apart right now. But the truth is more complicated. That crack was caused by rainwater eroding volcanic soil and exposing an old fault line. It didn't form overnight. It had been there for thousands of years, just hidden. When the soil washed away, people saw it for the first time and assumed it was new. That's why the story spread so fast. It looked like proof of something catastrophic happening in real time. But scientists who studied the crack explained that it was a localized expression of the rift's activity, not evidence of imminent continental breakup. The rift system has been active for millions of years, and cracks like this one appear periodically as the ground shifts and erodes. The 2018 crack was just one small, visible sign of a much larger process happening underground. It was real, but it wasn't new, and it wasn't a sign that Africa was about to split apart tomorrow. If you want to see where the real action is happening, you need to go north to the Afar region in Ethiopia. This place is different. It's one of the most geologically active regions on Earth, and scientists consider it a natural laboratory for studying how continents split apart. The Afar Triangle is where three tectonic plates meet: the Nubian Plate, the Somali Plate, and the Arabian Plate. All three are pulling away from each other at the same time, creating what's called a triple junction. It's one of the only places on Earth where you can stand on land and watch continental rifting happen in something close to real time. In September 2005, something extraordinary happened in Afar. Over the course of just a few weeks, a 35-mile-long crack opened up in the desert. It wasn't caused by erosion or rain. It was caused by magma pushing up from deep underground. Scientists recorded hundreds of earthquakes during that period, some strong enough to be felt across the region. The ground split open. Lava poured out in some areas, and when it was over, a new section of rift had formed. What happened in 2005 was a rifting event, a sudden burst of activity in a process that usually takes millions of years. Geologists studying the event discovered that a massive dike of magma had intruded into the crust, forcing it apart. The magma didn't reach the surface everywhere, but it pushed the ground up and created fractures. In places where it did break through, lava flowed onto the desert floor. The whole event was a glimpse into how rifts form, not gradually over millions of years, but in bursts of activity separated by long periods of quiet. The Afar region is also home to some of the most extreme conditions on Earth. Temperatures regularly exceed 50 degrees Celsius. The landscape is dotted with active volcanoes, lava lakes, and geysers that spew toxic gases. The ground is cracked and unstable. Earthquakes are common. For the people who live there, rifting isn't an abstract geological process. It's something that affects their lives every day. Villages near the rift zone are regularly damaged or destroyed by earthquakes. Homes collapse. Wells dry up. Farmland becomes unusable as the ground shifts and cracks. People are displaced, forced to move to safer areas, or rebuild in the same dangerous spots because they have nowhere else to go. The extreme heat makes life difficult, and the toxic gases released by volcanic activity can be deadly. For these communities, the fact that the full continental split will take millions of years doesn't change the reality that the consequences of rifting are happening now. But this process isn't unique to Africa. Continents have split before, and the evidence is all around us. The Red Sea, which separates Africa from the Arabian Peninsula, is a younger version of what's happening in East Africa. About 30 million years ago, the Arabian Plate started pulling away from the African Plate, creating a rift. Over time, that rift widened and filled with water, forming the Red Sea. Today, the Red Sea is still widening at a rate of about 1 to 1.5 centimeters per year. Even more dramatically, South America and Africa were once part of the same landmass. About 200 million years ago, they began to drift apart as the Atlantic Ocean formed between them. If you look at a map, you can still see how the coastlines of South America and Africa fit together like puzzle pieces. That split took tens of millions of years, but it completely reshaped the planet's geography. What's happening in East Africa right now is the earliest visible stage of that same process. The key difference is time. When we talk about continental rifting, We're talking about processes that take millions of years to complete. The 2005 event in Afar was dramatic, but it was just one moment in a process that will continue for eons. The crack in Kenya was visible, but it was just one small expression of a rift system that stretches thousands of kilometers. The movement of the plates is measurable, but it's so slow that no single human will ever see the full transformation. Still, what's happening in East Africa is extraordinary. It's one of the only places on Earth where you can watch a continent breaking apart on land in real time, even if real time means millions of years. Most continental rifting happens underwater along mid-ocean ridges, where new crust forms and spreads apart. But in East Africa, the process is happening on dry land, where scientists can study it up close. They can measure the movement. They can watch the volcanoes. They can see the cracks and faults forming. And they can use all that data to understand how continents split. The rift is also revealing secrets about Earth's deep interior. The magma that pushed up in Afar in 2005 came from a hot plume rising from deep within the mantle, hundreds of kilometers below the surface. This plume, often called the Afar plume, has been weakening the lithosphere for tens of millions of years. As the crust domes up, it stretches and fractures. Volcanic eruptions fill the rift valleys with lava. Over time, the crust thins until it breaks completely, and oceanic spreading begins. The volcanic activity in Ethiopia's rift, including the long-lived lava lake at Erta Ale, is strikingly similar to processes that happen at mid-ocean ridges. It's like watching the birth of a new ocean basin in slow motion. Scientists estimate that in 5 to 10 million years, the rift will have widened enough that water from the Gulf of Aden and the Red Sea will flood into the lowlands of East Africa. When that happens, a new ocean will form, splitting the continent into two. The eastern piece, which includes Somalia, parts of Ethiopia, Kenya, and Tanzania, will become its own small continent. The western piece will remain part of mainland Africa. The geography of the planet will have fundamentally changed. But here's the important part. That transformation will not happen in our lifetimes or the lifetimes of anyone alive today. It will not happen in the next 1,000 years or the next 10,000 years. It will happen slowly, over millions of years, as the plates continue their glacial drift apart. By the time the split is complete, humans as we know them today might not even exist anymore. The Earth will have changed. Climates will have shifted. Species will have evolved or gone extinct. And the continent that was once Africa will be two separate landmasses. Yet even knowing that, the process is still remarkable. Because right now, in this moment, we are living on a planet where a continent is actively breaking apart. We can measure it. We can study it. We can see the cracks and feel the earthquakes and watch the volcanoes erupt. We know what's coming, even if it's millions of years away. And that knowledge changes how we think about the Earth itself. The planet beneath our feet is not static. It's not fixed. It's constantly moving, shifting, changing in ways that are invisible to us on a human timescale, but undeniable on a geological one. Mountains rise and erode. Oceans form and disappear. Continents collide and split apart. And all of it happens so slowly that we forget it's happening at all. But it is. Every day, every year, every million years. The Earth is alive in a way that most people never think about. Africa is not breaking apart overnight. The viral videos and sensational headlines got that wrong. But Africa is breaking apart, slowly, measurably, inevitably. And millions of years from now, when a new ocean separates the eastern and western halves of what was once a single continent, the Earth will look different. The maps will be redrawn, and the process that started 25 million years ago will finally be complete. For now, the ground is moving at 7 millimeters per year. Satellites are tracking it, GPS sensors are measuring it, and scientists are watching one of the rarest and most significant geological events in Earth's history unfold in real time. Even if that real time is measured in millions of years, the planet is changing. Africa is splitting, and we are here to witness it.